Welcome back to coverage of the Magic World Championship. I'm Ailey Loney alongside Cedric Phillips, and we are going to see a battle of the two best positioned Japanese players next, Cedric. And I'm looking forward to this one. Yuta Takahashi versus Noriyuki Mori, who you just saw.
The robe decks.
The
fun
robe
part,
decks.
right? We come into this tournament, we think to ourselves, Epiphany this, mono green that. Not right now, and that's what's going to make this pretty fun. Azorius Tempo on one side, Izzet Dragons on the other. I know a lot of players were expecting Izzet Dragons once the rotation happened to kind of just pour it over. Gold Span, you got some other good cards there, Expressive Iteration, all this other stuff, but it's been Izzet Epiphany that's been trying to steal the show and has mostly done that. But for Yuta Takahashi, 0-3 draft, yikes, big trouble. Or is he? Or is he? 4-0 and constructed so far with this Izzet Dragons deck.
Yeah, things looking very, very good here for Yuta Takahashi indeed. As you mentioned, 4-0 with his Izzet Dragons list. It is rocking some of the Epiphany shenanigans that we have seen from the other decks, but more focused on the creature side of things. And I know you and me, we both love creatures, so I'm looking forward to this battle here between these two players.
Yeah, creatures of plenty of interaction as well. Kind of a, I don't want to really call it like a mid-range slog, but we might kind of end up in a situation like that. The thing that kind of makes this one interesting too, on both sides. Again, you imagine both of these players tested a ton against mono green, tested a ton against Epiphany strategies. How much did Takahashi test against an Azorius tempo-ish deck? Probably not very much. And the same can be said for Mori. How much did you test against a Izzet Dragon style deck that you probably didn't expect to show up? So maybe these players are going to be kind of playing things out a little bit more by feel, as opposed to I've tested this matchup a ton and I know exactly what to do. Yeah. So we might see some unorthodox lines, maybe some interesting guessing taking place, but they're both great, and they're both still very much in top 4 contention.
Yes, we were just discussing earlier, the 4-3 record. In any other competition, you'd be like, yeah, it's not that good. That's probably not, going to get me into top 8 or whatever it is. But these players, they're sitting tied 5th, so whoever wins here is looking very, very good indeed for a top 4 spot if everything keeps going their way.
Yeah, and that's what makes this tournament both unique and special, because there's so few players, and because the competition is so fierce, right? 4-3, as you said, may not normally seem like a very good record at all in any tournament, but in a tournament like this, your top 4 dreams are still very much alive. Every single match matters a ton, and that's the kind of Magic I absolutely love watching.
Likewise. Both players getting their lands down. Several things that they could be doing, but just gonna wait to see who moves first. Smoldering Egg looks to be the go-to here for Yuta Takahashi. He'd love to get this turned into an Ashmouth Dragon as soon as possible, and we've seen how powerful this card can be, especially in the hands of Andre Strasky, who is already qualified. If anyone has missed that, we already have one of our top 4 spots locked up.
1 down, 3 to go. Strasky has retired for the day, so we'll have the opportunity to see him tomorrow.
Dry Disruption takes care of the Smoldering Egg, and we're going to see Luminarch Aspirant get on out here, start putting some counters on. Unfortunately, there's a Dragon's Fire ready and waiting in Takahashi's hand, so let's see if he dispatches of this card right now.
Powerful creature. That is certainly worth answering. Looks like we're going to kick things off with an Expressive Iteration, however. You do see that there are some, of course, reactive elements here in Takahashi's deck. Would Dissipate, a card that's not huge this weekend at all. Jawari Disruption, there's some flexibility there with it being a spell and a land. We've already seen Disruption be cast on Smoldering Egg, as you mentioned. So Takahashi, he loves this style of deck. We did some player interviews and stuff like that, and our team had us write up notes about our predictions and players we were looking forward to watching and everything. And Takahashi is actually one of my favorite players in the world and one of my favorite players of all time, because he just plays the kind of decks that I suck at playing, frankly. These kind of tempo-y, when I think of him, I think of Bitter Blossom and Fairies, but I think of blue cards with him and definitely not attacking very much. These sort of tempo-y, counter-spell-y, keep you off balance, card drawing style decks, which just doesn't really fit in my skill set very, very well at all, and he's so darn good at it. He really is.
And he's pretty good at this World Championship thing, too. This is his first small field World Championship. But in his previous large field worlds, he's finished 24th, 36th, and 13th. That's pretty darn impressive indeed.
He's super, 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 super good.
And that just shows you like the strength of his, his mindset and his focus. You know, being 0-3 to start off the World Championship, well, plenty of players would just be like, I don't have a chance. And look at him. He's 4-0 since
Yeah,
then.
and coming into this event, you're going to see an Elite Spellbinder here get disrupted. But coming into this event, I was hoping that he'd be able to find something like this style of deck, you know, like something that is tempo-y with that has counter spells and removal spells and some card drawing, like the style of Magic that he very clearly has shown over his career that he prefers to play. My hope is he'd be able to find something like this because he's so good at playing a strategy like this, and clearly he's found something that works because, again, 0-3 draft, 4-0 constructed. Tough to say who's going to win this first game, but he's kind of doing his thing, right? Answering some stuff, using life total as a resource, now going to kill that creature, trying to stabilize the battlefield. This is how he likes to do it.
So far, answering everything that Mori has placed onto the battlefield or onto the stack, Luminarch Aspirant number 2 is going to hit the board, though. One thing that Mori would love to hit the battlefield too is another land, which he's been short of for the past few turns. But Takahashi is going to notice that, and I think it's time to put the pedal to the metal here.
Yeah, there is a little bit of difficulty here for Mori. You're seeing a Prismari command now. 2 modes there. Looks like we're going to deal 2 to the Aspirant and then create a treasure token. And you do see Takahashi with a Negate, Dragon's Fire, Shatter Skull Smashing, and Epiphany in hand. So a pretty good hand. The only thing it's really missing here, as far as I'm concerned, is just missing a gold span.
We did see him agonize a little bit over the opening hand. Had to send something back. First considered sending back an Expressive Iteration, because he had one in hand already. Eventually ended up sending the first Goldspan Dragon that we've seen to the bottom of the library. So valuing being able to dig through the deck just a little bit more.
Yeah, a deck with only 8 creatures in it, and Goldspan Dragon and Smoldering Egg. Of course, Ulrun's Epiphany is going to create a couple of Knuckleheads as well. But and I don't want to sell Hall of Storm Giant short either as a way to go about winning the game. As you see, once again, no land here for Mori, unfortunately. So it looks like he's going to turn to the Hermit, and more importantly, have that available to sacrifice to attempt to counter an Epiphany.
Yeah, and in this deck, doesn't look like there are any other Foretell cards, so if you see something foretold, you gotta know that, yeah, bad news bear is coming soon, but Shadow Skull Smashing will take care of the Malevolent Hermit. Concerted Defense is looming in hand. There can't do anything about this now, though, so that counter spell, as it were, is now off the battlefield.
No land once again. I mean, plenty of spells to play. Can't really double spell, though. That's the difficulty right now. It's just the inability to double spell.
Yeah, still no land. Malevolent Hermit number 2. Oh, excuse me, there is 1 sword coming in the main deck for Yuta.
Let's see, perhaps we clean this up, and then we follow things up with an Epiphany, perhaps.
Seems good to me.
See what the draw step is. Okay.
Oh, land, that's helpful.
And when you are playing in this tournament, open deck list, all that jazz, you know about considered defense being a thing that people can do. So now you resolve your Epiphany around that, come in for 2, got your creature land and Hall of Storm Giants as the draw step. And again, you know, we're not looking at, you know, hard counters that we know Takahashi for, like something like Cryptic Command, you know, in hand right now, but it does have a Negate to take care of a non-creature spell, and has Dragon's Fire to take care of a creature spell like Elite Spellbinder.
Yeah. You know, if this was turn 3, as it looks like it is on Mori's side of the battlefield, I'd be like, yeah, this is pretty good. You know, you get that Negate out of hand, but Takahashi's got so much mana available to him right now that this is looking so bleak indeed for Noriyuki Mori.
I think this creature land, well, I was going to say this creature land was going to get in if the draw step wasn't good, but the draw step was really good.
Oh, there's a dragon.
Now, we got 2 dragons to choose from. Inability to cast Goldspan right now. Looks like we're short of mana of doing that, so we could go the Smoldering Deluge route. You can make an argument for Thundering Rebuke in a spot like this. Heck, you can make an argument for all 4 of these cards, so excited to see what Takahashi's going to take in this instance.
Looks like he's pretty sold on the Smoldering Egg. I like that card very much against the Azorius Tempo deck that Mori has brought to the party here.
Yeah, it looks like it will be Egg Rebuke. Get this thing down on the battlefield. Come across here for 2 points of damage. Still do have Hall of Storm Giants, pardon me, to attack with. The lands are finally starting to show up. Might be a little too late for those to be as impactful as Mori would like. We'll have to see.
Oh, Memory Deluge can turn on the Smoldering Egg right now if he so chooses. But just gonna be patient. Take his time. Just keep pecking away at the life total. Down to 14 goes Mori.
There's the adversary. First of potentially many, as you see two other copies in hand. Gonna try to phase out this smoldering egg.
Yeah, just keep control of that as best as he can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Yep, just gonna let this happen now.
I wonder if he wanted to do that.
Not sure. A little.
Saw a slight look of confusion on his face there.
Yeah. Rarely do I see, when I've watched Takahashi, it's very decisive.
Yeah.
Not so at this exact moment. Okay. Alright, well, flashback's good. Alright.
Engagate pathway, and as you mentioned, the lands be flowing, and Spectral Adversary is going to get smacking here. In for 3 points of damage, down to 11 goes Takahashi. Still has 2 Spectral Adversaries to keep the Smoldering Egg under control here.
Yeah, and if you're Takahashi, you know that there are 2 hermits in the graveyard for Mori, and Mori hasn't brought either one of them back, so now you kind of playing this little guessing game of, okay, what's going on in your hand if you're not actually bringing those back from the graveyard. Answer is somewhat transparent in my estimation. At least another copy, excuse me, of Spectral Adversary. So there you're going to see that trigger. Going to do some phasing once again. Yep.
There they go. In response here, now that the shields are down, Dragon's Fire is going to look to take care of one of these Spectral Adversaries.
Again, one of the reasons why you might see some careful play here from Takahashi as opposed to more confident play, I guess I would say, or more decisive play, again, is because these are like the 2 rogue decks of the tournament going up against each other, right? So again, I imagine that these 2 just haven't played against each other's deck list all that much comparatively when you think about how much they've played against mono green and Epiphany strategies. So not to say that either player is making incorrect decisions, far from that. Just to say that lacking the decisiveness that they probably would have if they were playing against the decks that they very much tested against and caused them to select the deck set they're playing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the more reps you get in with a deck, you start to recognize the different play patterns, what you can expect from the other opponents. But in this situation, I'm going to pretty much bet that nobody tested against Azorius Tempo.
Yeah. Or is it Dragon Jewel, kind of flying, not flying blindly, but just flying carefully. As it looks like Divide by 0. We got some learning to do, Ailey.
Oh, yes. Mascot Exhibition or Environmental Sciences. It's gonna go for the Sciences. Padding the life total seems like a pretty good place to start here. As does an Alrund's Epiphany. Is he gonna fire it off now?
Rarely is Alrund's Epiphany a bad place to start. This is going to cost 6. And work around Concerted Defense, I believe. Okay, so yeah, you're going to want to cast this to phase out the egg so that it doesn't transform.
No counter Renos there. A second egg. Gonna get added to the battlefield here.
Yep, so no attacks, but an untap. You can go Sciences. Let's see, that'll make it so it's 4 and 2 counters respectively.
Yeah, so no dragon at this moment. But we'll have enough for the negate.
If you want to make it a little cute. No need for that.
Oh, no, not negating your own stuff, but,
well,
surprise!
I'm a little wild sometimes, I guess.
Sure, you could do that, I guess. If not, why not?
Looks like we're thinking about leaving at least 1 bird back. Let's make it 2. Negate still at the ready, as you did mention. And then a land in hand. Negate off to the side because of the Elite Spellbinder.
Yeah. So that is known quantity for Noriyuki Mori on the other side of things. Spectral Adversary gonna swing in here. The 2 birds will block.
Snap them off! Snap them off!
Oh, yeah. You give me creature to kill, I will kill it.
Yep. Because if you have a way to interact with me, that's a spell. I'm going to negate that, transform dragon, take it from there.
Dragons, because it will see the negate is 4 mana, so both of them would flip. That's pretty cool.
There's another hermit. Oh, good time to draw a spell. Didn't this time. Okay.
Well, there's the hole. Let's see if he goes that route now, or if he's happy to just sit back, relax, and try and get around these benevolent geists. Time to get swinging. Oh yeah.
I would say the draw steps right now favor Takahashi as opposed to Mori, given how the game is currently playing out. Mori does have some good draws, don't get me wrong, but I think the better draws are available on Takahashi's side. And all that means, as this all comes in, going to bring Mori down to 5, is that his draw steps over this turn and the next couple need to be good, and Island is not one of the good ones.
You know, you enjoy finding lands after you've been a little bit screwed in that department, but however many in a row, please stop.
Yeah, and now you kind of get to put your opponent in the abyss, as we like to say sometimes, which is basically you need to block every turn or you're dead. So here's your first block.
And Tutu's doing a good job of keeping those birds at bay, but this Hole of the Storm Giants has no answer for it right now. Intrepid Adversary is a very good draw with a battlefield. By itself, sure, it's okay.
Something to do. Now, one thing that we might see happen here, even though... Oh, actually, we'll saw it coming is actually just going to be flat good right now, I think, just because that's going to do some transformation of these eggs. So I think whatever gets cast is just going to get attempt to be countered, is what I imagine. Mori trying to figure out what's the best way to sequence.
Yeah, it's tricky because there is the sword coming, and Takahashi wastes no time snapping that off. And here be dragons. That's gonna do it. Noriyuki Mori can't come back from that, unfortunately, so Yuta Takahashi takes the first game down. We're gonna go to a very short break. When we come back, we'll see what happens in game number 2. Welcome back to coverage of the Magic World Championship. We are going to join back with Noriyuki Mori and Yuta Takahashi Takahashi picking up a pretty convincing victory as Noriyuki Mori just ran out of steam, unable to deal with a bunch of dragons and birds on Takahashi's side of things.
Takahashi playing some Takahashi magic right there. Just, some card drawing, some removal, some counter spells. Just the way that he likes to do his thing, picking his spots, trying to figure out when's the right time to cast these negates and these dragon fires and everything else. Look, he's made a career of playing this style of strategy. And again, like I said during that first game, what I love about watching him is that this is a thing that I do so poorly, but I appreciate people that do it well. And he does it extremely well. I think of back in the last decade, going to date myself a little bit, but just watching Paulo Vitor Dominguez play Farius, I'm just like, man, just look at him go. Just look at him go. Just playing everybody like a fiddle. And just, picking his spots beautifully with his counter spells and his everything. It's so much fun to watch players play these styles of deck really, really well. It really is. But for Mori, who's playing this tempo strategy, we got to remember, for him, it's about getting ahead. Getting ahead and staying ahead. Because think about that concerted defense that we saw that game. Never cast.
Nope.
Never did anything. And that card gets turned on when you're ahead. When Takahashi is forced to play into it and hope you don't have it and then you're able to counter something, we're on even footing, and Takahashi can pick his spots and also play around that card like he was, or if Takahashi is ahead, like he was at various points in that game, considered defense is no defense at all. So just something to keep track of here as we get ready here for this second game that Mori clearly is ready for.
Yeah, he's ready and raring to go, Takahashi, just deciding whether or not he wants to bring in heated debate. Opts to leave it in the sideboard, and here we go. Game number 2. Let's see how the game plan changes from both these players going into the second one.
It's a good start here for Takahashi. I'd be surprised if he doesn't keep this hand. Got a 2-drop into a premier 3-drop in Elite Spellbinder, not only giving information, but making things a little bit more expensive. Gonna have to find another land, which he hasn't done yet. This is how this story could go, Ailey.
No more land issues. Just good magic. Come on, please. That's all we want this weekend.
Huge
It's gonna be a battle of the malevolent hermits. These little guys are feisty.
Such a big draw step to find a third land there and didn't do it. And you can see now that Mori, the turn would have been easy if he finds a third land. That enters the battlefield untapped. It's just Elite Spellbinder, take a card, get your information, figure out how you want to plan the rest of the game. Now the struggle's real.
On the other side of things, Takahashi looks absolutely solid here. Joy Disruption if he wants it. Another Malevolent Hermit. Removal. And 2 dragons, which he can cast on curve because he has that Joy Disruption as a land if needs be.
Now the good news here for Mori, pardon me, is that there's still plenty to do. Adversary on the end step. Maybe draw your third land this time. Move forward that way. So missing the land drop, obviously not ideal. Maybe I think we'll see a trade. Didn't think so though. You still draw that third land. You're okay.
The one benefit of this tempo deck is that the cards are relatively cheap to cast, but eventually you're going to need to find a third land, which he hasn't done, unfortunately. Just another concerted defense. The Spectral Adversary and Malevolent Hermit are going to get in here and try and keep control of this board state as best he can.
Yeah, really, really, really tough spot here for Mori, too, because we're talking about a deck that's playing 24 lands. You can count Jawari Disruption as lands if you want to. In this instance, we're talking 26 lands. And the mana troubles that he has had, not only in this match, but kind of over the course of the weekend, definitely frustrating, right? It's understandable why you see some frustration from him.
Benevolent Geist, it's going to come back down. Turn is a 2/2 flyer and get in the way of the Spectral Adversary, and here we're going to see Jawari Ruins hit the board to ensure that Goldspan Dragon on 5 is a possibility. There's the second Spectral Adversary, not going to be phasing anything out, and there, finally, is land number 3. So, Paulo Vitor, in Elite Spellbinder form, is going to hit the board.
Yeah, and you would have loved to be able to do this, and this is an obvious statement, obviously, but do this last turn and the following turn. You hit Goldspan Dragon number 1 and number 2. Now maybe the decision's a little bit harder than you'd like for it to be.
Yeah, look at his face.
You see him, it's 2 dragons? No!
You gotta be kidding me. That's
2 dragons,
such a rough
2 removal
spot.
spells. Can I take the island? Can I take, how about the island? Can I take that, please?
If only. And the unfortunate thing as well, even if you do put something to the side, the Goldspan Dragon just gives you that 2 mana that you would need to cast that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. I do not envy Mori's position right now. It's such a rough spot for him. But here we go, Goldspan Dragon number 1. It's gonna swing on in.
Yeah, and
Interested
Hermit
to
is
see if
too.
there's a trait here with the Hermit. No, we're just gonna Dragon's Fire the blocker out the way.
Yeah, I like that we're gonna ramp up the aggression a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Because what Takahashi wants to do is he wants to get ahead because Mori's deck doesn't play well from behind. So he's
No.
like, no, get that out of the way. You don't get the opportunity to trade with me. Now you need to interact with me in order to kind of catch yourself back up. And Legion Angel is far from a good draw step right now.
Yeah, this just feels so hopeless right now for Mori. I really feel for him.
It's tough. It really, really, really is tough. And I don't want to pick on these conservative defenses because it's not their fault, but they've looked quite poor in these games because he hasn't had the opportunity to play from ahead. That's the unfortunate thing.
It's such a tricky situation to try and work yourself out of, but on the other side of things, Yuta Takahashi smells blood in the water, and he is just going for it.
Yeah. So much of this tournament coming into this, right? Everybody knew Epiphany was going to be good. What's it going to look like? Tough to say. We found out there's a couple different versions that people were going to play. Mono green, known entity. And we talk about Epiphany and Rangers class and Asika's Chariot and how powerful those cards are. I think maybe folks forgot about how good Goldspan is a little bit. The card's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
I mean, between Goldspan Dragon and Asika's Chariot, like, between those two, who would you say is top dog in Standard right now?
I mean, if I had to choose one, I got to go with the Dragon because it's right in front of me. It's right in front of me doing its thing, so I'm going to choose the Dragon.
Well, here's an extra one. Goldspan Dragon number 1 will be told to sit down and be quiet, courtesy of this Ray of Frost. But nothing that he can do against the second one. Gives the good game to Yuta Takahashi and picks up the victory in a clean 2-0. It improves his record to 5-3. So 2 more games he needs, and he could be in the top 4.